able to, please rise and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Uppity, present, on.
Got salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, on.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
On.
You may be seated.
Take. On.
As we come together this evening for the swearing in of the new officials of the town of Newcastle, we celebrate the centrality and sacredness of democracy. Let us hold our new esteemed leaders in our prayers, because through their dedication, our democratic values become real. Leadership is never easy. In the portion from the Torah, which Jewish communities throughout the world will read this week, we learn about the leadership of our prophet Moses. When faced with having to free his people from an impossible challenge, he not only has to stand up against adversity, but also has to prove himself a worthy leader to his people. He gains their trust through moral clarity, curiosity, humility, and a sense of determination. The Jewish tradition teaches us that Moses was a unique model of leadership because he questions himself and in trepidation asks God, "Who am I?" He seeks truth by looking within. He seeks connection with his people by understanding his own authentic power. His authenticity is what makes the people believe in him and trust in him. So let me offer this prayer. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu. May it be your will, O God, that our leaders are blessed with the aptitude to listen, the prerogative to question, an obligation to look inwards to serve this beautiful community with respect, with dedication, and with truth. Amen.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I apologize for the lateness, but we have a big crowd tonight, and we appreciate that everyone traveled from near and far to be with us. Rabbi Landi, your words were so meaningful, and they will inspire us in the year going forward. So welcome to the inauguration of our Town of Newcastle officials. The oath of office will be given to Jeremy Saland as our Deputy Town Supervisor, Council members Alexandra Chemtov and Jennifer Naparstek-Klein, Town Justice Douglas Kraus, and Westchester County Legislator Vedad Gashi, who is also Chair of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, and finally to me as your Supervisor. So I want to thank those Greeley students who had a beautiful string quartet and couldn't remain with us, but nevertheless, I want to recognize them and thank them for their beautiful music. And our epic ambassador ushers and the Chappaqua Boy Scout Troop number 2 for leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. And I want to recognize our Newcastle Police Department, Chappaqua Fire Department, Millwood Fire Department, and Newcastle Fire District number 1 for that beautiful presentation of colors. And finally, I want to recognize our very distinguished guests and elected leaders who do us a great honor by joining us tonight and participating in our program and making this a very special day for us is President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton. Thank you. You have been such wonderful leaders and amazing neighbors in our town, and we're so appreciative of your presence and the time that you give and your commitment to being just neighbors in town. So we love it, and we're so appreciative of you. Thank you. And I want to recognize New York State Senator Pete Hartcomb, New York State Assemblyman Chris Burdick, County Executive George Latimer, who was with us and is still with us in spirit, Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. We have being sworn in, but I will recognize him nonetheless, Westchester County Legislator and Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, Vedad Gashi. We have former U.S. Congressman Mondaire Jones, former State Senator Stephen Saland, and in the audience, I want to say, and well, first here on our stage, we also have Holly McCall, who is a town council member, not being sworn in today, but Holly, we are excited to work with you. So in the audience, we are honored to have, representing U.S. Senator Kristen Gillibrand, her Hudson Valley Regional Director, Steve Colias, representing U.S. Congressman Mike Lawler, his District Director, Rafi Silberberg. We have Suzanne Berger, Chair of the Westchester County Democratic Committee. we have Randy Glazer and Jane Silverman, co-chairs of the Newcastle Democratic Committee. Together with many of the district leaders of the committee, we recognize you, we salute you, and are grateful to all the support you've given us to help us reach this stage. So in the audience, I am pleased to note that we have the president of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, Subomi Macaulay, who will say a few words for us tonight. And I want to also recognize the illustrious women of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, including the president of the Greater Bedford chapter, of which I am part, Letitia Stapleton, as well as its director, Mary Ann Carr. Thank you. Your presence is so meaningful. In the audience, I'm also pleased and honored to note that we have many people from the Chappaqua Central School District present here, including School Superintendent Dr. Christine Ackerman, our School Board President Hillary Grasso, our Vice President Kaylee Wong, and members Matt Auerbach, Alyssa Dorfman, and Ryan Kelsey. And I must note that we have former school board members here. We have Karen Visser, Warren Mesner, and Jane Shepherdson, who I was pleased to work with. And finally, I want to recognize the people who are essential to making tonight happen. Our town administrator, Jill Shapiro, and Tiffany White, her assistant, and Deputy Clerk Lauren Cascone, and Carrie Krams, Executive Director of the Newcastle Media Center. So we thank everybody so much for being here, and I just want to say some have traveled from near and from very far, including San Francisco, Chicago, Virginia, and as far away as Oxford, England. So we will not keep you waiting. We will start the program, and to start, we will have a statement by our New York State Senator, Pete Harcum.
Thank you very much, Madam Supervisor. That was an impressive list. Congratulations. Good evening, everybody. First to all the elected officials who are being sworn in tonight, congratulations. We'll talk about that in a second. To Mr. President, Madam Secretary, thank you. You hear how proud this community is to have you here. You could have chosen any place in the country to live, and you chose here. And you don't just live here, you participate here. And it's noted, and people really appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you very much. And to all my colleagues in government, it's great to be here. We're here for a couple reasons. Number one, we're here to honor all the great folks who've been elected. It's a new day every time we're at a swearing-in ceremony. It's a proud day. It's a day for you to feel pride of the accomplishment. It's a great day for your families. This is a day for the political folks to take a victory lap. Even though this is a government function, we need to acknowledge, as the late Kevin Quaranta used to say, we run politically, but we govern apolitically. And so, you know, this is a day where we can acknowledge that. But it's also a day on the government side where we come together from different levels of government to offer our support and collaboration. Because everything we do is best when we work in collaboration, local, county, state, and federal. And that's why we're all here, to show our support for all of you. It's a great day, but it's also the day that we get to work. And we are all here to collaborate with you in the spirit of friendship and hard work. And whatever you need, our job is to help you fulfill your vision for the town of Newcastle. And we're proud to do that. And then finally, we're here, dare I say, to acknowledge the will of the voters. All over New York State, we've been doing something since January 1st, is the peaceful transition of power. It's something that's unique here in the United States, and it's essential to our democracy. And 3 years ago this week, that did not happen. And it sent shockwaves through the country, and it sent shockwaves through the world. And so we come together regardless of our party affiliation or non-party affiliation. The most important thing that we do tonight is we affirm the will of the voters, that you are here because voters want you to be, and we will be here as long as voters want us to be, and when they don't want us to be, we need to honor that as well. So this is a wonderful evening. Congratulations. God bless. We love you.
And now I want to welcome our New York State Assemblyman, Chris Burdick.
It's a real honor and privilege to be here, an honor and privilege to represent Newcastle in the New York State Assembly and be surrounded by so many remarkable people, our President, the Secretary of State, so many people who make Newcastle their home. And yes, it's a tremendous, proud moment. But it's a proud moment not only for all of those who are being sworn in today, but it's a proud moment for the town of Newcastle. Because ushering in, as Pete had alluded to, it's a new group, it's a new government, it's reflecting the will of the people, the will of what you in Newcastle want from your government. And that truly is the mark of American democracy. And generation out of generation, we can take such tremendous pride in that. And like what Pete had mentioned, our job is to do everything that we possibly can to support the work of those who represent the people of the town of Newcastle. And as Pete was saying, at every level of government, that's what we have to do. Because otherwise, we're not getting done what the people of the town of Newcastle want to see get done. And I want you to know that I am really excited about working with this new group of elected representatives, because I am absolutely certain that this is going to be a fabulous period of time for the people of the town of Newcastle. And so thank you very much, and let's give them a warm round of applause.
I'd like to invite to the stage Subomi Macaulay, President of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus.
Good evening, everybody. It is important to me to come before you today and speak about my friend, Victoria Tip. I met Victoria through our Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus Greater Bedford Chapter Director and former Bedford Town Supervisor, Mary Ann Carr, who is here with us today, and was drawn to Victoria's quiet disposition and class. Prior to her being elected Town of Newcastle Supervisor, Victoria was the Deputy Town Supervisor for 2 years, and prior to that, President from 2017 to 2020 of Westchester Putnam School Board. And while she was on that board, she was a board of directors there for 8 years. She advocated for school funding and developed and built relationships with all stakeholders. In addition, she served on the Chappaqua Central School District Board for 10 years, 3 of those years as its president. She worked on board governance, fiscal responsible budgets. You hear me? Fiscal responsible budgets. And she was the school board liaison to the Committee on Anti-Racism, Equity, and Social Justice. It is important to note that she served the community as PTA president early on in her public service career, and that is very close to her heart. As an attorney, she is well-versed in international transactions, and is an experienced legal researcher, which is fundamental to becoming town supervisor. Victoria, I salute you today as a fellow immigrant, a mother, a wife, an attorney, and without a doubt, the best person to be the town supervisor for Newcastle. On behalf of the entire membership of the Westchester Black Women's Political Caucus, we are so proud of you, and I actually learned Creole today. So I'm going to say it in Creole. Nous sommes très fiers de vous. Thank you.
Let's see. I was relying on all you guys to come up. So who is next? Thank you, Subomi, for your words. I am so honored by them. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, let's try again. Good evening. It is a momentous and it's a great occasion this evening. Let's make sure to give congratulations again to all of our Newcastle town board members that are being sworn in today. This congratulations, I want to add my congratulations to everyone so far, and certainly to my good friend Vadat Gashi down in the County Board of Legislators with the illegal meeting of the County Board of Legislators that are here as well, right? Most of them did not make sure to get mentioned. The reality is that I'm here at this moment to make sure to bring up for an introduction someone that in Newcastle does not need an introduction. There is someone that in the program, for me, that gave 32 years of his life in the state legislature. 10 years as an assemblyman, and then 22 years serving the 41st District of the New York State Senate. Hailing first prior to that on the town board to make sure that that didn't even get added into the Wikipedia page, by the way. The reality is that from good stock becomes great public servants. So with that, let me bring up to do his introduction and swearing in someone that has shown the way for his son to continue the kind of public service that we expect that both everyone here, from President Clinton to Secretary Clinton to Pete Harcum, and certainly Assemblyman Burdick, and all of us here together understand that what we do every day in the town starts locally. So with that, let me bring up a good friend, the Honorable Senator Stephen Salon.
I have no place to go but downhill. Normally, it's been a while since I've done this. I think the last time I did this was the last time I came here to swear in Jeremy. Normally, you would acknowledge all of the speakers. Oh my goodness, the supervisor acknowledged all the speakers and probably 3/4 of the room. If the other quarter would like to stand up, I'll acknowledge you. Go ahead. This is really an extraordinary moment for me. It's quite a joy, and as Ken mentioned, I did serve in the state Senate. It was, to some, a wonderful time, to some a sentence, but I must say it was a wonderful time. I take my hat off to my former colleagues or current colleagues, both Pete and Assemblyman Burdick, and I'd be remiss if I failed to acknowledge the presence of President and Secretary Clinton. But after that, the last time I was sworn in, or the only time I was sworn as a town board member, was about 52 years ago, and it was nothing as elaborate as this. It was in the family room of the town clerk of the town of Wappinger. And I think there might have been 6 or 7 people present. So this is quite an awesome attendance. The reality is, however, that there's really nothing more significant in our system, nothing remotely more significant than local government. It's really the building block of the foundation of our democracy. It's the closest thing of the ability to go to the forum. You have the ability to engage directly with your representative. You have the ability to question him or her. It's a little more difficult to do that. They don't take anything away from our members of our state legislature or Congress, but it's quite easy to access local government, and I'm sure many, if not most of you do, and that's why I believe you have this kind of attendance here. It's a recognition of the quality that you've gotten from your town board, and you have every reasonable expectation for that to continue. I have a certain amount of prejudice. My son Jeremy at times can be a handful. I'm sure some of you know that. His mother certainly does. I'm sure his wife and children do. I want to acknowledge, since everybody has been acknowledged, I want to acknowledge his mother, my wife Linda, his wife Leslie, and his children, Isaac, Lucas, and Max. And I'm sure they're as proud of him as Linda and I are. When I first had the opportunity to swear Jeremy in, it was almost otherworldly. Now I guess I'm a bit of a veteran. I know the kind of person he is. I know the kind of family person he is. Excuse me. I know his commitment. I know. Jeremy, let me have some of your water. Thank you. And I know he'll never let you down. He's never let me down. He's never let his family down. He'll give you 110%. He's a source of enormous personal and family pride, and I hope he does that same sort of job and continues to earn the same sort of respect that this town has seen fit to now elect and re-elect him. This will be his 3rd term. I can only wish him the best and wish all of his colleagues the best, and I think that the town will continue to be in good hands. And with that, Jeremy, if you're good enough to come up. Big print, I don't need my glasses. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and use your name.
I, Jeremy Salan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Deputy Town Supervisor and Council Member
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Deputy Town Supervisor and Council Member
of the Town of Newcastle,
of the Town of Newcastle,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
So, Ken, I appreciate you introducing my father, but one of the things that he also did is he was actually a hall monitor in high school, which tells you about how I grew up. I mean, a hall monitor. Who was a hall monitor? And he wore that with pride. But another thing that he did is my father, Pete, it's hysterical. My father also had a tryout with the Yankees, and he didn't ever come to fruition. And I used to say to him, Dad, you could have been Goose Gossage. He was a lefty pitcher. And I said, you could have taught me how to throw a great slider or a curveball or something like that. And not to sound too cheesy, but he kind of taught me how to throw a straight pitch, and that straight pitch was public service. There's so much that we should be proud of here in Newcastle, and we've accomplished so much. And I think there's very few of us in the field of politics, as yucky as that term sometimes is, more of an elected official that would come up before their constituency and say, as proud as I am and all the things we've done, I have done nothing. I've done nothing. And I say that, and I get emotional. Because we have done much together. No, nobody is an island. Nobody has done anything alone. There were some really hard times in this town. Where we had some tragedy, but we overcame that together. And our community is that much better because of it. And it doesn't take away from the tragedy that happened, but we are very lucky and fortunate that we could grow and continue to thrive and be a successful place where people are welcome, where it's more than just a playground, it's more than just infrastructure projects. There's really a foundation to this community that is all of you. And I won't belabor anything else and stand up here and regale you with all the things that has happened over the past few years, but I will say that this community is great because of the volunteers. This community is great because of people like Jill Shapiro. We have so many people that have not been named, but I want to make sure they get their names known, because that's what happens. They not only fix your potholes, they not only take your calls, but they do the job that none of us know happens on a daily basis. And there's Jill, Rob, Sabrina, Christina, Ike, Bart, Josh, Tom, Lauren, Tiffany, Carrie, Chief Carol, the chairman and men and women of our volunteer boards. I saw Chief Iden here before as well for the fire department and ambulance corps. That's what this community is about. So I'm going to be gone in 2 years. We'll be here, don't worry, but not before you, and we'll pass that baton on to someone else who'll do a better job, a more thorough job, and that will be one of you. So thank you so much. Thank all of you for being here, and thank you all for being a part of this community.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the skills that we learn in this job, or we hone, is called winging it. County Executive George Latimer was here and was supposed to introduce you, Madam Secretary, and he had a 2-page introduction in his jacket pocket, and on his way out the door, I said, "George, your notes." And he said, "Bye, Pete." So, without notes, I think, you know, Secretary Clinton in this community doesn't need an introduction, but I will. I just want to say a word about the Secretary Clinton that I have come to know. We know you as a mother. We know you as a grandmother. We know you as a fierce advocate for children, a fierce advocate for healthcare reform. You transformed what a modern First Lady is in the United States. That cannot be understated. And you were an amazing Secretary of State, forging alliances that had been broken over years, bringing sanity back to our foreign policy. But to know you in this community, to know how you care about this community, and that you cared enough to help me in one of my elections. And I will never forget that, because that was an incredibly tough but important election. You know, there was someone who wanted to be governor and thought they could do that by coming through our seat. And everyone came together, and you were one of the leaders of that. And I can't thank you enough for that. And the values that you have fought for your whole life are still reverberating in our party today. When we talk about what is a progressive movement, the progressive movement is about providing equity to the underserved. And that's been your life's mission. And I'm proud to fight for those values that you set forth. Please welcome former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a pretty good winging, I must say. I am very impressed, Pete, and next time I see George, I'll tell him. It is such a great delight for us to be here tonight, and not only to be part of this community, but as several have already said, to be part of the transition of government. And it is especially poignant to know how our democracy is supposed to function and does right here in Newcastle, and to see the hard-fought elections, then people assuming the responsibility of governing is incredibly impressive. So to all of the elected officials, congratulations, and thank you for inviting us to join you once again. I want to call up our next member to be installed, and that's Alexandra. And so, Alexandra, I'm going to pull out this very well organized. Thank you, Jill, and everybody for getting us so organized. And I want you to stand here so that he can get a good picture of you getting sworn in.
Thank you.
So if you would, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alexandra Shemtab,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member
of council member
of the town of Newcastle
of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Good evening, and thank you all so very much for being here tonight. Thank you to our elected officials and distinguished guests for helping us mark the occasion. Thank you to our amazing town staff for all your hard work day in and day out. It is truly an honor and a privilege to serve the community I love so much. Thank you to the voters, and thank you to the Newcastle Democratic Committee for its support and endorsement. Thank you to all the people that donated to and volunteered for our campaign. Thank you, Vicki, Jeremy, Jen, and Holly. I am looking forward to the work we will do together. The Democratic Party is not a monolith, and neither are the people serving on the town board with me. Together, we bring a variety of backgrounds, viewpoints, ideas, passions, interests, strengths, weaknesses, professional and lived experiences, all of which are going to help us serve this town well. I strongly believe that we are in a better position to lead and meet the needs of our residents when we seek to understand, work to find common ground, and make room for diversity of thought. This is the example I wish to set for my children and for the community. The world gets scarier and more divided by the day. I might not be able to change the world, but I can try to make my side of the street a little better. And this is why local politics matter. We can lead by example here in Newcastle. To do so, we must move away from partisan politics. Ideology cannot become central to the identity of the Democratic Party at the expense of thinking critically and rationally about issues and solutions. To quote my friend and local legend, Judge Doug Kraus, who is being sworn in for his 9th term as town justice tonight, you need a right wing and a left wing to fly a plane. But don't forget, most passengers sit right down the middle. I will take these words of wisdom with me. Finally, I want to thank my village, my husband, my children, my family, and my friends, some of whom are generously here with me tonight. Thank you for your guidance, encouragement, support, and love. Everything I do is for you. Thank you.
I hadn't heard the right wing, left wing. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. That's pretty good. No wonder he's been elected 9 times. Okay, Jen. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jennifer Naparstek-Klein,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member
of council member
of the town of Newcastle
of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an honor this is to be here with all of you tonight, and thank you so much for your patience and sticking around. My family's very dear rabbi just passed away on December 20th, so I feel especially compelled to quote his favorite ancient Talmudic scholar, Rabbi Tarfon, who said, "The day is short, and the work is great, and the laborers are sluggish, and the reward is much. It is not your duty to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it." I absolutely adore this saying, as it helps me to not feel hopeless when the world feels hard, and to feel like small bits of work and effort matter, and that it is an imperative to life to be committed. Another very scholarly person who sits in our midst today, when asked what next after a devastating electoral loss, said that one must bloom where one stands. I am so thrilled to have been sworn in by Secretary Clinton, and those words not only penetrated to my core back in 2016, but to the core of Newcastle. In fact, our own Dawn Greenberg, a handful of years ago, started a social media page for us called Newcastle Blooms, and many of those blooms are here tonight and work hard for every election and every cause they care about. So thank you, Secretary Clinton, for showing up for us and for reminding us that it is up to us. That's another action-oriented group. And for inspiring our town to do what we can, however we can. When I think about blooming and making a garden grow, I think of all the nourishment that is needed, and for me, that nourishment means the people around me. So above all, I'd like to thank my family, my husband, David, who adorably calls himself my Doug Emhoff. My children, Caleb, who flew in from the UK, and Jordan, who is Zooming from Chicago, both of whom voted via absentee ballot, woohoo, from Jerusalem and Chicago, respectively. I'd like to thank my mother Joyce and sister Lisa, who also flew in, and brother David, and my extended family and wonderful friends who give me so much love and to whom I am so grateful. And some of my colleagues from the Counseling Center who are also committed to never desisting from good work are here or Zooming tonight. Thank you for cheering me on and trusting me to continue as clinical director while I step onto the board of my beloved town. When I joined the Newcastle Democratic Committee back in 2017 as a district leader, I truly could not imagine how these powerhouses in town, the members of that committee, would become my dear, dear friends and teach me what it looks like to stay true to values, to fight hard for them, and to support others who share your values. So thank you to Randy and Jane, the co-chairs, and to our campaign committee, Marie, Hank, Eric, Jeff, Joe, and to all the district leaders who went door to door and came to the farmers market in Bobo's and got signatures, donated, and got out the vote. And thank you to Sari and Dana for donating their creative prowess. I am so awed by my running mates, Vicky, Allie, and Jeremy, who quietly but consistently make thoughtful decisions for our town on the daily. They are models for staying the course and not getting sidetracked by what seems unimportant, and prioritizing what is vital for our town. You all, along with Holly, have already generously shared much wisdom, and I know I will learn from all of you as I join the town board as the new kid on the block. I've also been getting to know our incredible town staff. Thank you for tonight and look forward to working together. I'm beyond grateful to our elected officials from the state and county who came out and supported our campaign at multiple events, George Latimer, Chris Burdick, Pete Harcum, and a special thank you to Vedat Gashi and his family and campaign team, especially Liv, who really showed up. If you have to wake up at dawn to head to the train station for palm card distribution, you're going to want Vedat there with you and his daughter Hannah, who cheer-led our tired morning and evening commuters toward the polls. Give me a V. I am so thankful to all of our representatives for coaching and informing me and our slate on legislative issues, which is and will continue to be invaluable. Lastly, the group I cannot leave out are the residents of the town of Newcastle who came out to vote and who also devote their time and energy to our town in so many ways. As a district leader and just a community member, I am floored by the areas of knowledge, talent, and ability embedded in our town, and the energy to do good work and to speak up. I hope to meet more and more residents and to brainstorm about how to grow our town together. Thank you so much.
All right. I don't have an oath to take tonight, but I am thrilled to be up here to congratulate all the elected officials and welcome our distinguished guests. I want to wish a congratulations to all of you who are newly elected or once again elected to the Newcastle Town Board. While you're coming up and individually taking your oaths tonight, I know that the real work is done when we're all together and working as a we. So I really look forward to what we're going to be able to accomplish this year. On a night of speakers who do not need an introduction, I am going to do one anyways. I am honored to introduce former Congressman and my friend Mondaire Jones. Mondaire was elected in 2020 to represent the 17th Congressional District from 2021 to 2023. He made history as the first openly gay Black person ever elected to Congress. And he did the work while he was serving us. His colleagues even unanimously voted him the youngest member of House leadership. He's continued to keep the Hudson Valley and our congressional district in his sights in protecting us and being a good advocate. He was part of the most productive Congress in modern American history. And when we talk about what it looks like to have a peaceful transition of government, he's seen firsthand what it looks like when that doesn't happen. So I am thrilled to introduce him to all of you and welcome him to our community to celebrate our elected officials. Your best.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. All right. Thank you for those kind words, and congratulations again to all of the newly elected people who are being sworn in tonight. It's great to be surrounded by all of you in a community that means a lot to me. So we have heard this phrase now multiple times this evening. The next person I'm about to introduce needs no introduction. And if ever there were an evening when that would not be a cliche, but actually apply to the moment, it is tonight, Mr. President, Madam Secretary. An active member of our Newcastle community, a father, a husband, a saxophonist, a patron of Crabtree's Kittle House in Chappaqua. I did my research. Founder and chairman of the Clinton Foundation, the 42nd president of the United States of America, and a damn good one at that. I have always related to President Clinton's upbringing, raised by two strong, loving women, his mother and his grandmother, in humble conditions. He overcame the odds of his birth, and with high hopes for himself and his community, he endeavored to make America a better place than when he founded, and he did, and he continues to do so today. Under President Clinton, America saw the longest economic expansion in history, record job growth at the time, a significant decline in unemployment, the highest rate of home ownership in our nation's history at the time, a budget surplus, if you can imagine that. After 8 years in the White House, President Clinton continued his life of public service through establishing the Clinton Foundation, which has become a powerful institution for positive change throughout the world. Addressing some of the world's most pressing, in many instances, existential challenges, from improving global health outcomes and combating climate change to fostering economic development and promoting gender equality, the foundation continues to have a meaningful, lasting impact. We are proud to have President Clinton as a member of our Lower Hudson Valley community right here in New York's 17th Congressional District. His tireless, bipartisan pursuit of solutions to complex problems is an inspiration to me, and I know to all of you in the audience today. So too is his resilience and his leadership in face of whatever adversity life has thrown at him. In the words of President Clinton during his first inaugural address, "There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America." I'll say that again. There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America. As we enter this most important existential year, let that be a reminder to all of us to dig deep within ourselves as our nation faces these daunting challenges, and dig deep into your community, our communities here in the Lower Hudson Valley, so that we can continue to build a more perfect union. President Clinton's story is one of tremendous leadership and a steadfast belief in our collective ability to overcome our challenges and build a better future for everyone. Please join me in welcoming a true champion of progress, William Jefferson Clinton. Thank you.
That was so nice.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I would
Really.
love to have you.
Thank you. Congressman, you sounded pretty resilient yourself. Thank you so much for that introduction, and Madam Supervisor, and to all the other elected officials here. Congratulations to those who've been sworn in and those who will soon be sworn in. I have to say, when you were giving your introduction, Mondaire, I had just one gasping moment. He said he was raised by two strong women. I thought he was going to say my mother and Hillary. And I pretty much would have had to plead guilty, so it was a... We have loved living here. We love the Memorial Day parade, but we love the daily routines and rhythms of life. And because I'm out of it, I think maybe I even like the vigorous debates we have here. We need more housing for poor people. Where should it be? We need all of the things we argue about. I love it. Because I believe in the teachings of my faith that no one has the whole truth. That there is a truth, but no one has it all. And that's why democracy, if practiced with discipline and care, is the best of all forms of government. Or as Churchill said, the worst, except for all the others. It really matters what decisions are made. These people are swearing an oath to make decisions. And the most important thing we can do is to dispel people of any cynicism they have about the importance of those decisions. I remember, I'm from Arkansas. I think I'll be the last president ever to live in a house that didn't have indoor plumbing. God, I hope so. And it's great politics, but way overrated. There's snakes in the summer and it's freezing in the winter. It's awful. But one of my favorite country jokes that I was raised on is the guy's riding along a country road and he looks in this old wooden sign that said, Tom Jones, veterinarian, taxidermist. Either way, you get your dog back. It matters what decisions are made. Decisions have consequences. Some of the happiest years of my life were when Hillary was doing a job that wasn't mentioned today, being your senator. It was her favorite job. She loved it. And it seemed every weekend when she'd come home, there was this sort of endless conversation about how to do something. And the how question is very important. Usually we talk about what are we going to do and how much money we're going to spend on it. One of the reasons I thought she was so gifted, she always focused on how. So we are today celebrating all of you that we trust to answer the how questions, not expecting that you will be perfect, but that you will do the best you can with a humble heart and an open hand, and without the venom and hatred which poisons too much of our politics today. So I wish you well, and I thank you, all of you, for making this a wonderful place for us to live. So now it's my job to do the swearing in. First, I'd like to invite Douglas Kraus. Thank you. I get to swear him in, so I won't be the only old gray-haired guy on the platform. And since I come from a party that believes in inclusion, I'm glad that you have not excluded our demographic from your city government. Please raise your right hand, Judge. Say aye and speak your name.
I, Douglas Kraus,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town justice of the town of Newcastle according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
So you guys have all been very patient. I can't really see very many of you with the lights, but hopefully there's still somebody out there. So I will be very quick. First, thank you to President Clinton and Secretary Clinton for participating in this inauguration ceremony today, as you have many times in the past. By my count, you've now been resident of the town for a little over 25 years, just this past summer. And you've been, both of you have been very active participants in all of our local events, including our Memorial Day parades, the inauguration of town officers, and many, many other events. And I'm sure I speak for everyone here in saying how much we really appreciate that. I've always felt that our town is a very special place, and your being here and your participation in so many of our local events help to make it even more so. There are a couple of other people I'd like to thank as well. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you, the people of our town, for allowing me to hold this position as town justice for so many years. On February 8th, I'll mark the completion of my 30th year as town judge. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to have held this position for so long, and I thank everyone for allowing me to continue to do it for another 4 years. During these last 30 years, I've served together with 3 really exceptional colleagues: Larry Lenehan, who many of you may remember, David Zuckerman, who is now a justice of our state Supreme Court, and for the last 11 years, my truly wonderful friend and current colleague, Noah Sorkin. They were and are all amazing people and gifted judges, and they have all become cherished friends. And I'll say one more thing, if any of you are Giants fans like I am, when I ran with David Zuckerman in 2007 and 2011, and we were opposed back then, we rang doorbells together, and in both of those years, after the election was over and the playoffs came, the Giants won the Super Bowl. So I've been after David to come back to this town because we could really use some help. So if you know him, please tell him to get back here. So we also have the most extraordinary court staff of any court in New York State. Our 2 court clerks are here, Diane DeSerbo, who, I know you're here somewhere, I can't see you. And she is Allie's mom, and you can see how extraordinary she is, because the apples don't fall very far from the tree. And also Kathy Burns. They are among the most knowledgeable and experienced clerks in the entire New York State court system. Clerks in other courts call them for advice, and I'm pretty sure they could do my job too if they had to. They are assisted by our intern, Lily Burke, and also during our court sessions by Diana Caffarelli, who is a senior member of the town controller's staff during the day. In addition, I want to thank our court officer, Jason Zeif, who grew up here in town just like me, and also our court security officers, Jim Gallagher and Tom Jones, who actually provided some much appreciated assistance last Thursday night when we had a couple of litigants who were, let's just say, of the large and aggressive variety. And last, but definitely not least, really most important, is my wife and my very best friend ever, Alice, who's sitting right here. And I'm going to be honest and tell you that the minute I met her, I absolutely knew she was the one. I didn't have to do any research. I just knew. But, you know, Alice, those of you who know her, she's a very tough grader. And, well, she was not so sure. So she took a lot of convincing. And this was before I went to law school, so I wasn't as persuasive then as I am now. But what I was very persistent, and it really paid off, because in a couple of weeks, with luck, we'll celebrate our 54th anniversary. She is really the most amazing and incredible person. First of all, she comes from Chicago, so that tells you a lot right there. And she has been and remains an active participant in our community. She served for many years on the Town Recreation Commission and currently serves on the boards of Teatown Lake Reservation and also Temple Bethel. And she puts up with me, and she does it with a smile, even when the phone rings in the middle of the night and I get called out to do an arraignment. And when I got home from court last Thursday night, which was just before midnight, she cooked me a terrific dinner, which she always does. Also, she proofreads all my decisions and corrects my grammar and catches all my typos. She is the only person I've ever met who loved diagramming sentences as much as I did in the 6th grade. And that is true. And on top of everything else, she raised our 2 terrific kids while I was working at my firm in the city. And she is now the most amazing grandmother you've ever seen. She also taught me to love cats, and she knows exactly what to say to fix my golf swing when it gets off plane. I kid you not. This is Wonder Woman, and she is totally the best thing that ever happened to me. And any one of our friends will tell you that. So thank you, Alice. I hope I didn't embarrass you too much. And thanks to all of you for listening.
Now I'd like to invite to the stage Vedad Gassi. I want to tell you what he did tonight. That this is, I don't think in any way compromised his independence. But he noted when we were walking in the Memorial Day parade last year that he had really spiffy shoes, which I complimented. And he noted Hillary did. And he noted that mine were, well, comfortable looking. So tonight, before we came out here, he gave me a pair of red, white, and blue Nike tennis shoes. So I'll be wearing them as long as I can walk in that parade. And but in the spirit of full disclosure, I just thought we ought to get that out there in case I ever ask him for a favor or he asks me for what. Please raise your right hand. Say aye, repeat your name.
I, Vedad Gassi,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Westchester County Legislature
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Westchester County Legislature
and Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislatures
and Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislature,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President Clinton. He blew up my spot. That was supposed to be a secret. No, it's a tremendous honor to be sworn in here today by President Clinton and, of course, Secretary Clinton. It's hard to overstate how revered the Clintons are among Albanian Americans, which I They are, it's true. Particularly Kosovars, they recognize the role the United States played in helping Kosovo in its darkest time. And for that reason, they will forever be revered. And again, I will say thank you for that. I want to get straight away my family, of which there's a lot here today. Thank my mom. Say hi, Mom. There's a lot, so I'm going to say them quicker. My wife and kids, Vjosa, Hana, and Leka. My siblings, Isat, Tony, Juka, Ekram, their spouses, their kids. We have cousins here. It's quite a few Albanian Americans and some that I'm not related to. So I appreciate you all for coming. This past term, and actually, I forgot to thank the voters of my district. Thank you to the voters of Ossining, Somers, Yorktown, Newcastle. I really appreciate the trust you gave in me. And we've done our best with that trust. In the past term, we were able to accomplish so much. We were able to pass landmark legislation to protect the environment. We worked on protecting women's access to health care, passing a first-in-the-nation gun safety law to combat gun violence. We did all this while passing a balanced and fiscally responsible budget that has helped restore Westchester's economy. We've made real progress, I think. Westchester is better today than it's ever been because of the hard work we've done. And of course, we didn't do it alone. We did it together. You can't do it alone. So I want to start by recognizing, first and foremost, my colleagues on the county legislature. Colleagues, if you wouldn't mind standing up real quick. This is them. We have a quorum here, I think. Majority Leader Tyree Woodson Samuels, Majority Whip Terry Clements, Nancy Barr, Erica Lang Pierce, Jewel Williams Johnson, Shanae Williams, Judah Holstein, and last but not least, Emiliana Ulay, who is the second Albanian American elected to the Westchester County Legislature. We're taking over. We're getting close. We do it more than just the legislature. Of course, we couldn't do it without our excellent county executive and deputy county executive, our partners in the state, Chris Burdick, Pete Harcum. Thank you so much for your friendship. We don't always agree with our federal representatives, but they work hard as well. And maybe, who knows, next year we might agree more with our federal. Just saying, I don't. And of course, the town of Newcastle. Thank you, Supervisor Tipp, and all the members of the town board for including me in this swearing in. It's an honor to be here, and you are fantastic representatives. They're excellent representatives, and we need them because we're facing some tough challenges still. In this coming term, we're going to have challenges, some unforeseen and some that we've already seen. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. We've seen it just this here in Westchester. Some girls' basketball team were the victims of some vile anti-Semitic attacks. And that's rough. And I'd like to attest, actually, as the first Muslim elected legislator in Westchester, that Islamophobia is also on the rise. Just across the Hudson, this past week, Imam Hassan Sharif was shot and killed outside his mosque. It's a scary time. The hate we're seeing. Obviously, war continues in Ukraine. 130 still held hostage in Gaza. Families still struggling with the physical and financial impact of COVID. These are tough times. It can feel overwhelming, but in truth, we've overcome more. From world wars, the Great Depression, disease and famine, we've overcome war. I don't say that to minimize the threat of the challenges we're facing now, but rather to recognize the greatness of this country, the resolve of the people, of our government. Me and my family know a little bit of struggle. Some people know that we're refugees from Kosovo. We came here when I was 4 years old. When we first moved, we lived in the Bronx where my dad was the superintendent. And when I was in the 4th grade, we had some hardship, a difficult time. At that time, me and my family, it was a family of 7, five kids and 2 parents. Fire tore through our apartment. Fire tore through our apartment, burned up all our belongings. And we were homeless for a time. But the truth is we weren't homeless because we had family and friends and support. We moved in. It was the first time I lived in Westchester. We moved into my aunt and her husband, a family of 5, who lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Yonkers. And think about that for just a second. If 7 people decided to move into your home tonight, it might be a challenge. We knew we had to make do. It wasn't going to always be easy, but you do your best and you keep going, and again, you make do. You knew certain things weren't going to be the same. When my birthday came along, I remember thinking, I know we're not going to have the same celebration, but you kind of hope somebody will notice. And I was fortunate because my cousin did notice. She saw me and she says, hey, I got to go to the store. Do you want to come with me? And we're going to take the bus. And I was so excited because I'd never been on a bus before. I'd never seen it. I got in, paid the toll. You got to pull the rope to make it stop. This is super exciting. We bought a composition notebook, and I think she let me buy some candy. And I was so excited. I couldn't wait to run back home and brag to all my friends, to my family rather, that I got to do this. And as I'm running up the stairs, I run up and I get to the bedroom where we're all staying, and I found out that they had decorated it for my birthday and threw me a surprise birthday party. It's weird. From that whole ordeal, I don't remember any of the hardship, any of the difficulty. I remember that birthday party, though. I remember how that made me feel. And we are going through some tough times, but the truth is we know how to overcome these challenges. It's overcome through hard work, through coming together, supporting one another, but also love, right? The love that was seen through that birthday party. Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King famously said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And we will, because we are a great country. Westchester is a great county, and we can accomplish so much. We can and we will overcome these challenges. And we have to, because our work isn't done. We have so much work left to be done, and we're going to be laser focused in this next term in doing that. Right, guys? Protecting our environment, ensuring the safety and well-being of our families, creating jobs, fixing our infrastructure, delivering real results for the people and businesses of Westchester. These are the things we're going to be focused on, and I pledge to do that. I pledge to work hard, pledge to work together, pledge to support one another, but also to celebrate the love in our community rather than to focusing on that hate. And I can't thank you all enough for entrusting me with this solemn responsibility to help lead us through these difficult times. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you all for the time here. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. I'm so glad that you got to say what you did. It's important that all of you know, if you don't, that New York has the largest population of Albanians of any state in the United States. And it is important that you know that all the stuff we're talking about now and these horrible things we see happening in other countries now, it was happening to them both in Albania and in Kosovo. In 1992, when I ran for president, Albania was the most closed, authoritarian, godless, communist country in the world. But Enver Hoxha, the leader, was so crazy to prove that the state was more important than the individual that he killed himself. And when I went to Albania last year, it had, unbelievably, one of the most open governments anywhere in the world, one of the highest percentages of women in the cabinets and in the parliament of any country in the world. When I met with the parliament, the men all got together and said, we had to have a men's caucus so people would know that we're represented too. And they were all kidding. But the point is, nobody wanted to go back to a lot of what people are pushing for today. In Kosovo, in just a couple of months, 10,000 people were killed and about half the country were turned into refugees. They were facing total extinction. And I'm glad the United States could step in and stop it. But they did the rest. All over the world, people are fighting these us and them battles as if they were all new. And they're old as time. And we'd be here till tomorrow morning if Hillary and I got to conduct our seminar on why we think there should be two states in the Middle East, and we try to get there, but we will rue the day if we let the Iranian axis get rid of the state of Israel. We will never, ever get over it. And so I say this. I say this because we live in a town with a huge Jewish population, some Muslims, some Buddhists, some God only knows what. And the evidence is that diverse groups have richer lives and make better decisions and fewer mistakes and correct the mistakes they do make more quickly. And I just have always felt at home here. When Hillary and I bought our house, it was in November of 1999, so she could have a place to live when she was running for the Senate. But I'll never forget the night we came home for the last moment of the White House. President Bush had just been inaugurated, and they always fly the president out one more time on a adios visit wherever you're going. And I came to the Westchester County Airport with Hillary and Chelsea and some friends. And it's been wonderful. So I just want to say that to all of you. You know, I looked at Mondare. There was a time when we would not have elected a gay black man to the Congress in Westchester County, but we did. We did. There was a time, and we had a rough election the last time, my party did, and he didn't win, which made him more like me. I lost my first race for Congress. But we go on. So I want to get out of here but swearing in the supervisor, who has done such a great job tonight and a good job with her job. So please. Please raise your right hand, say aye, and speak your name and repeat after me.
I, Victoria Bayard Tip,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United
that
States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of supervisor
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of supervisor
of the town of Newcastle
of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. So I was here 2 years ago getting sworn in by Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, and tonight it's complete. I've been sworn in by President Bill Clinton. I also followed Vedad Gashi at that time, and I wasn't planning on talking too much about myself, but after listening to Vedad, I was moved to, and the same thing is now going to happen. So I didn't plan on talking about this, but I want to say what a great country this is. I know we have problems, but it truly is. My family's from Haiti. I was born in Haiti, and we came here under very difficult circumstances. On an American Airlines plane, a stewardess saved us. And we moved here, landed and went to my grandmother's apartment, who'd gotten an apartment all the way on the upper West Side. We moved to Jackson Heights, then we moved to the Bronx, then we moved back to Manhattan on the Lower East Side. My dad got a job at Barclays Bank, and my mom got a job at the United Nations. They were able to do that because they had the privilege of a good education back then. And that's why education has always been so important to me. It does level the playing field. And that's why I've spent so much time on equitable funding for education when I was on the school board. So it means a lot to me, and I just want to say how incredible it is that this country did afford me these opportunities. My mother enrolled me at the United Nations International School. Now, the United Nations has a lot of problems, but when people ask me, well, do you think it's a worthwhile organization, I say that's all we have. You know, it's a structure. And a structure is made up of the people in it, so it's the best we've got, and we hope for good people to help heal the world. But the United Nations School gave me the opportunity for 12 years to be around children of all countries, and because I went there from the age of 6, I thought that was normal. I thought that's how the world was, and so I took it very much for granted. And when I left that school, I was a little bit upset that I had lived in such a bubble, but now I'm really glad because I expect that people will live well together. I expect a diverse environment. Those were my formative years, and although they were long ago, your formative years really stay with you, no matter what you go through. And so when I walk into a homogeneous room, I say, well, what's going on here? I've got to say that Newcastle has been a great place to live. It is a little bit homogeneous, but it is an accepting place. And it has accepted me as an elected representative for over 12 years. I don't often talk about myself, but I feel at home here, and I am so ever grateful to our community for putting its trust in me as your next town supervisor. So I just want to say that, first of all, I thanked a lot of people when we started, but I just want to thank a few people now. I want to thank my family because they're the ones who have to hear about my trials and tribulations. So I want to thank my husband, Robert Tip, in the audience. I want to thank, in order of age, here in spirit, Zoe, Tip, and their partner, Tomek. I want to thank my son, Simon Scheib, who's here, and Devin, Tip, and their partner, Conoco, and my youngest, Maurice. I owe you more than I can say. Thank you for supporting me through my crazy life here in Newcastle. So we've lived here for almost 24 years, and my kids went through the Chappaqua schools. And serving on the school board for 12 years, and last year I ran on an independent line. So for most of my 6 elections, 5 of them were nonpartisan. And this was my first time running under my party line as a lifelong Democrat. And I just want to proclaim how proud I am to have run on that line. We have not been too partisan at this event, but I just want to take the opportunity to do a little bit of that, which I don't normally do. I just want to say how proud I am to have run with the party that fights for fairness and justice and equality for every single person, and that fights to preserve our voting rights and the very core of our democracy, and that fights for education to level the playing field, and fights to protect us, our children, and our schools from senseless gun violence. It's the party that fights to protect our environment and acknowledges basic science. It's the party that fights for an individual's right to their own identity and to be with who they love, and that defends the rights of half of our population, those who carry the blessings and the risks of bearing children, who should have the right in the 21st century to bodily autonomy, to protect our health and make our own medical decisions. But this is local politics, and perhaps I digress. We're here to serve at the most local level, where we don't necessarily affect these national issues. So where is our focus as we serve our community? Again, being on the school board for 12 years gave me a unique perspective that few public offices have. On the school board, you have to gain the trust of your constituents and represent them without regard to party affiliation. And when it came time to reach out to people I knew in this past election, I found I wasn't quite sure of what party my former supporters belonged to. And I realized what an important perspective that gave me. It is a deeply divided political climate, and my view of my fellow residents was, and still is, through the lens of friends, families, and neighbors, and I promise you it will always be that way. The divisions in this country are not only now along party lines. We've all seen how the horrific events in the Middle East have created conflict in our local communities. And as your local elected officials who can't affect national or geopolitical issues, what can we do? As I think about that, I'm mindful that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is just 4 days from now. And there are so many values that he stood for that are relevant today, but there's one particular one that resonates for me at this time. I was watching an interview of his oldest son, Martin Luther King III, that was published just a year ago on January 15th, 2023 by PBS Jews Weekend. There he described his father, and I quote, he said, "He was a human being who was able to bring people together, groups that didn't necessarily always agree. He was a coalition builder. And we need more coalition leadership today. We are at the most divided time, probably, that we've ever been in the history of our nation." So those of us who know me know that I talk a lot about bringing people together, building community, and unifying disparate groups. This is something we cannot give up on. Your supervisor and local town board cannot resolve geopolitical issues or get people to agree on how to resolve them, but what we can do is recognize that we are all neighbors and friends that respect and care for one another despite our differences. Relationships are work, and we must commit to that work to reaffirm our values and strengthen our connections. So I know that some of you are here today, care very much about this. And I am here to work with you, and I appreciate you, and I know that you're there, and we will start very soon together to do this work. So I, along with our town council members, are excited for the opportunities ahead, and we are excited to get to work for you. And now, to close our ceremony, I would like to introduce someone very special in our community, the Reverend Dr. Martha Jacobs of the First Congregational Church of Chappaqua.
Thank you so much. Wow, you really can't see anybody out here, can you? Before I do our closing prayer, I'm going to ask you to indulge me for one moment, because I want to thank the town of Newcastle and its leaders for inviting me for the past 10 years to offer invocations, benedictions, and comments at various town events, both those that have been joyous and those that have been deeply sad. When accepting the call to serve First Congregational Church, I had not anticipated that I would be so involved in the wider community, and believe me, it has been a true blessing to be among you. As I will be retiring in September, it's the first time I've said that publicly, I want to take this opportunity to thank Jill Shapiro and her staff, Chief Carroll and the police department, and all of the town board members over the years who have supported FCC and our work in this community. My deepest prayer is that this community will continue to support FCC, which I believe must remain and continue to be a part of this community for at least a second 100 years. Would you now kindly join me in prayer? O God of many names and many faiths, we are grateful that we live in a country where democracy is an important part of who we are. As we know, democracy requires that people of good faith come together and vision together what is good and what is right for all people. May our new town board be a beacon in this community by finding ways to embrace their differences. May they be an example of how people of different backgrounds, belief systems, and views celebrate their differences by finding new ways forward that will benefit everyone. May difference be seen not as good or bad. Instead, may difference be celebrated and lifted up and move this town forward to a place where all feel welcome and where all views are welcome and heard. Holy One, may all hearts and minds be open anew, and may not only the board but the town staff, members of the community, those who serve the community and keep us safe, and all who have a stake in this community celebrate our diversity and our difference. May we create something new and something precious: love, acceptance, and open arms for all people of all ages, races, social standings, backgrounds, cultures, sexual orientations, and gender differences. May Newcastle be a town that moves people to care for one another in new and different ways and show the rest of Westchester how to do that. Grant them the wisdom, grant them the courage, and grant them the patience for the living of these days. Amen. I'd now like to invite those who are comfortable to please rise as we join together in singing God Bless America, which will end our evening together. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam,
God bless America, our home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home. May everyone get home safely.
Like,